The air was heavy, thick with the smell of burning metal and dust. The sky was painted with strange colors, purple clouds swirling above the broken city. In the middle of the ruins, he walked alone. No one knew his name or where he came from. Some called him a monster, others a survivor, but he was neither. He was something different, something stronger. He had been wandering for days, moving quietly between crumbled buildings and shattered streets. Every step he took made the ground shiver under his weight, but he moved carefully like a shadow. The humans had not yet noticed him, or so he thought. Then, in the distance, he saw movement. Figures walking carefully among the ruins, carrying strange weapons that glinted under the dim light. He paused, crouching behind a broken wall. His eyes studied them. Humans. Their bodies were fragile compared to his, but there was a fire in their eyes, something sharp, almost dangerous. He had never seen humans up close. Stories from his kind spoke of them as weak creatures, easy to defeat. But these humans, something about them made him uneasy. Their movements were careful, almost smart. They were not just survivors. They were hunters. A small group of them stopped near a collapsed building. They looked around, whispering to each other. He strained to hear, but the words were lost in the wind. Still, he could feel their intent. They were searching for him. His heart, if he had one like humans did, would have raced. But instead he felt calm, a dangerous calm. He had fought before, defeated enemies far stronger than these humans. Yet a tiny part of him wondered, could they be different? Could these fragile beings actually harm him? The humans suddenly turned toward him. One of them raised a device that glowed with a cold blue light. It was a weapon. He recognized it immediately. It was not like anything he had faced before. The glow made the ruins look even darker, shadows stretching like claws across the ground. He had two choices: stay hidden or face them. Something inside him, an instinct older than memory, pushed him forward. He stepped out from behind the wall. "Who or what are you?" one of the humans shouted, voice shaking but strong. He did not answer. Words were useless here. He only moved. Faster than they could react, he lunged forward, sending one human crashing into a wall. Another fired the glowing device, and the blast hit the ground near him, shaking the rubble. Sparks flew, but he was unharmed. The humans froze for a moment. Fear flashed in their eyes, but then it was replaced by something else, determination. They charged together, a small but dangerous force. He met them, blocking their attacks with strength they could not understand. Each movement of his was precise, powerful, controlled, and then he felt it, a strange sensation deep inside. It was not pain, but something like it. Each strike, each clash with the humans was changing him. His body felt different, his mind sharper but heavier. It was as if the fight itself was marking him, leaving traces that he could not see but could feel. The battle lasted only minutes, but it felt like hours. When it ended, the humans lay scattered, exhausted, some injured but none dead. He stood alone, breathing heavily. The adrenaline faded, leaving behind a strange emptiness. He looked at his hands, the hands that had struck and blocked, the hands that had felt the humans' resistance. He realized then that something inside him had shifted. He was stronger, yes, but also different. He could not explain it. The fight had awakened something new, something dangerous, even to himself. The humans, shaken but alive, crawled away. Their eyes were wide, not with fear alone, but with a strange respect, or maybe confusion. They had seen what he could do, and they would not forget it. He watched them disappear into the shadows of the ruined city. For a moment he felt something unfamiliar, loneliness, or maybe anticipation. He knew this was only the beginning. Something had changed in him during that first encounter, something that would not fade. The humans had awakened it, and he would never be the same again. He turned and walked into the ruins, the wind whispering through the broken walls. Somewhere deep inside, he knew the humans would return, and when they did, he would be ready. But would he be the same as before? The city was silent again, but the silence felt alive, as if it remembered the fight, and he walked forward, alone yet not truly alone. Something had shifted in the world that day, something that could not be undone. The encounter had ended, but the story was just beginning. The sun barely pierced the thick clouds as he moved silently through the ruined city. Broken streets stretched before him, littered with metal scraps and shattered glass. His senses were sharp. Every sound, every movement reached him instantly. But it was not the ruins he feared, it was the humans. He had seen them once before. They had looked fragile, small, almost unworthy of attention. Yet in that first encounter he had felt something strange, their determination. Humans were not just weak creatures. They were clever and dangerous in ways he had not understood. A sound broke the quiet. A faint rustle of steps behind a fallen wall. He froze. His instinct screamed that danger was near. Then, without warning, they emerged. Humans, this time more organized, moving in a careful formation. They carried weapons that glowed faintly, tools designed to hurt, to capture, to destroy. He stepped forward, letting the first wave see him. The humans hesitated, but only for a second. They charged. This time he was ready. He dodged, blocked, and struck. Every movement was precise, a deadly dance of strength and speed.
One human lunged at him with a blade that glimmered in the dim light.
He caught it midair, twisting it out of the attacker's hand, then pushed him aside with ease. But something was different. These humans were not afraid. Each attack was carefully planned, each move meant to test him. The fight was not just physical, it was a battle of minds. And for the first time he felt a twinge of uncertainty. He had fought stronger beings before, but they had all been predictable. These humans were unpredictable. Their fear was gone, replaced by courage, even defiance. They did not flee. They adapted, learned from every strike, every dodge. He blocked a blow from a glowing staff. Sparks flew, illuminating the destruction around them. The sound of metal against his body rang in his ears. He struck back, throwing one human across a wall. Another tried to sneak from behind. He spun, catching the attacker mid-move, feeling the force of the human strength. Not weak, not fragile, they had hidden power, cunning power. Then it happened. A sudden surge of energy from the human's weapons hit him directly. It was not enough to kill, but it burned, like fire spreading through his body. His muscles flared, his senses sharpened, and an unfamiliar feeling rose inside him, a mixture of anger and awakening. The fight continued longer than before. Each clash left marks, small scratches, bruises, and a deeper awareness of his own limits. He realized with unease that these humans were not just testing him. They were changing him. Every strike he blocked, every force he endured carved something new inside him. His mind raced faster, his body reacted quicker, but with every advantage he gained, he felt a weight pressing down on him. A strange, heavy sensation that was not pain, but a signal that he was no longer the same as before the fight began. Finally, the humans retreated, stepping back into the shadows. Their weapons flickered out, their formation broke. They were exhausted, but they left with eyes wide open, filled with something he could not name: respect, fear, or understanding. He stood alone in the ruins, chest heaving, his body pulsing with the unfamiliar energy. He looked at his hands that had struck, blocked, survived. He felt stronger, yes, but also changed. Something inside him had awakened. Something dangerous. Something that would not fade. The wind blew through the broken city, carrying the faint cries and whispers of humans moving away. He knew this was only the beginning. The humans would come again, smarter, stronger, more dangerous, and next time he would not be the same either. A strange thought crept into his mind, one that unsettled him. The fight had not just been a test of strength, it had been a test of what he could become. And he was not sure he liked the answer. The ruins were silent again. But he knew the humans were out there, watching, planning, and he would be waiting. But would he be ready for what they would bring next? The first fight had ended, but the war, the real war, was only beginning. The ruins were quiet again, but the silence felt heavy. He moved slowly, each step careful, as if the ground itself remembered the fight. His body ached in ways it never had before, not from pain alone, but from something deeper, something inside him that was changing. He found a spot atop a collapsed building and looked down at the city. Broken streets, shattered walls, flickering lights from the humans' devices, it all seemed smaller now, almost fragile. Yet he knew the humans were clever. They had retreated, yes, but they were learning. They were always learning. He sat quietly, thinking. The first fight had been more than a test of strength. It had been a mirror, showing him what he could become. He flexed his hands, feeling the power he had used, but also feeling something new, a strange tension inside, as if the fight had awakened something that could not be turned off. His mind replayed the battle. Each human attack, each dodge, each strike, they were sharper now in his memory. He remembered the glow of the weapons, the sound of metal clashing, the human's eyes that had not looked afraid, only focused, alert, alive. That had unsettled him more than any weapon could. For the first time he wondered, were humans really as weak as his kind believed? Or was that just a story? A lie meant to comfort those who had never faced them. These humans had surprised him. They had fought not just with strength but with courage, with intelligence. And that thought lingered in him heavy and sharp. He felt the changes clearly now. His body was faster, stronger, more aware. But his mind was restless, uneasy. There was a hunger in him. A hunger to test this new strength, to see how far he could go. But it was not excitement alone. There was also caution, a small voice warning him that power came with consequences. From the shadows he heard movement, a faint rustle, almost like a whisper. He froze, scanning the ruined streets. But it was only a rat, or so he told himself. Yet the feeling stayed. Humans were out there, always watching, always planning. And they would return. He closed his eyes, thinking about the humans he had faced. They had retreated, yes, but their gaze had stayed with him. They had seen what he could do, and now he had seen what they could endure. That knowledge weighed on him more than the battle itself. The city began to darken as the sun disappeared behind the swirling clouds. Shadows stretched like fingers across the ruins, and he felt small under their reach. Not physically small, he was far from that, but small in understanding. He had survived, yes, but what had he learned? That humans were dangerous, that he was changing, that the world he knew was shifting beneath his feet. He rose slowly, moving toward a narrow alley for shelter. He needed rest, but he could not ignore the stirring inside him. Every movement, every thought was sharper, faster, heavier. He flexed his fingers again and noticed a tremor, almost imperceptible, but there. Something new, something alive had awoken within him. The humans would return, he knew it. And next time they would not just test him, they would try to break him. That thought sent a shiver through him, though he tried to hide it. For the first time, he realized he was no longer untouched by human resilience. He had been changed in ways he could not yet understand. Night fell completely, and the ruins were bathed in silver moonlight. He crouched, listening to the wind whistle through broken walls. Somewhere in the distance, a faint sound. Footsteps? Maybe. He could not tell. But he knew instinctively. The humans were out there, somewhere, waiting, planning. And when they returned, nothing would be the same. For now the city was silent. But inside him, the echoes of the fight remained. The first battle had ended, but the war, the real war, was only beginning. And he would not be the same when it came. The city was quiet, but he could feel it buzzing beneath the surface. Every corner, every shadow seemed alive. The humans were out there somewhere, watching. He could sense their presence even when he could not see them. Something about them had changed. No longer just fragile creatures, they were unpredictable, clever, dangerous. He walked slowly through the ruins, the wind tugging at the edges of his tattered cloak. Memories of the first fight came back vividly. The humans' attacks, their courage, their strange determination. Each flash of that moment sent shivers down his spine. He had survived, yes, but he could feel a shift inside him. Something unfamiliar and heavy. He stopped atop a broken tower, looking down at the scattered ruins. The battle had taught him more than any fight ever had. Humans were not to be underestimated. They adapted. They learned. And they remembered. That thought chilled him. He had thought he was ready for anything, but these humans were different. They had something inside them that he could not touch. A spark. A will that refused to break. The realization hit him hard. He could not treat them as weak, as easy prey. Every move, every decision, every encounter from now on would matter. They were no longer creatures he could strike and forget. They were opponents who would force him to change, to adapt, to evolve. He flexed his hands, feeling the strange energy still coursing through his body. It was stronger than before, sharper, faster, but with it came a weight, a burden he had never felt. The fight had not only tested his strength, it had awakened something inside him, something that he could not ignore, something that could not be reversed. He crouched low, studying the streets below. Every shadow could hide a human. Every movement could be a trap. The thought made his heart race, though he did not show it. He had always been strong, always been in control, but now for the first time he realized control was an illusion. A sudden sound made him snap his head around. Footsteps, careful and light, echoed through the ruins. He tensed, ready for another attack, but the sound faded. Still, he could not shake the feeling that the humans were closer than he thought. They were learning, watching, waiting, and he had only begun to understand what that meant. He thought of the first fight again, the humans' determination, their clever attacks. They had not just defended themselves, they had tested him, pushed him to limits he had never imagined. And he had felt it deep inside. A new power, yes, but also a strange unease. He had survived, but he was not the same. He could feel it. Every thought, every movement, every choice would be different now. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the broken city. He felt the night press in around him, thick and suffocating, but also alive. The humans were out there somewhere, moving in the darkness, learning, preparing, and he would have to face them again. He closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of the realization. The first fight had ended, but it had shown him something terrifying. Humans were not weak. They were not simple. And they could change him in ways he had never expected. A cold wind brushed past his face, and he opened his eyes. The ruins stretched endlessly before him, filled with unseen dangers, hidden threats, and he knew deep down that nothing would ever be the same. The first battle had been a warning. The real challenge was coming, and this time, he could not afford to underestimate the humans. Something inside him stirred, a dangerous, powerful instinct awakened by the fight. He clenched his fists, feeling the pulse of new energy in his veins. The humans had changed him whether he wanted it or not. And when they returned, he would face them, not just as he had before, but as something far more dangerous, something far more aware. The city waited in silence. The humans waited in shadows, and he waited, knowing that the next encounter would test him in ways he could not yet imagine. The city was no longer quiet. Smoke rose from broken buildings, and the air smelled of fire and metal. He could feel it. Humans were coming, and this time they were not alone. He crouched behind a fallen wall, eyes scanning the horizon. Shadows moved with purpose. Humans, more organized than before, emerged from the ruins, weapons glowing, moving in perfect coordination. Their eyes were hard, determined, and unafraid. He took a deep breath. This was it, the real test. The battle that would push him to the edge. He stepped into the open, letting them see him. For a moment, time seemed to slow. He could hear his own heartbeat, the crackle of energy from their weapons, the distant roar of the city. Then, it began. The humans charged like a single force, attacking from every direction. He dodged, blocked, and struck with precision. One human leapt at him with a blade, only to be thrown aside effortlessly. Another fired a glowing weapon that sent sparks across the ground. He twisted and ducked, feeling the heat of energy brushing past his body. Every strike, every clash was sharper, faster than anything he had faced before. These humans were clever. They adapted mid-fight, predicting his moves, testing his reactions. It was no longer just a battle of strength. It was a battle of minds. He felt the surge inside him, the new power awakened by the first fight. His body moved like a weapon itself, faster, stronger, more precise. But the humans were relentless. They came again and again, each attack testing him, each strike leaving a mark on his body and his mind. A blast from a glowing cannon knocked him off his feet, sending rubble flying. Pain flared, but it was nothing he could not handle. He rose, his eyes burning with a strange intensity. The battle had changed him, and now he fought not just to survive, but to dominate. One human leapt from above, a dagger aimed at his chest. He caught it mid-air, twisting it out of the attacker's hand. Another tried to trap him with energy nets, but he smashed through them effortlessly. Sparks and fire lit the ruins as the fight continued, a chaotic dance of strength, speed, and strategy. But then something unexpected happened. One human, small and quiet, moved differently. Not with force, but with cunning. They lured him into a narrow alley, a trap designed to test his limits. He felt the tension rising, the energy inside him pulsing harder. The fight was no longer simple. Every decision mattered, every move could change the outcome. He broke free, striking with precision, sending the humans stumbling. But the effort left him breathless, and he realized this battle was more than physical. It was changing him, carving something new inside, awakening a dangerous awareness he could not control. The humans finally fell back, retreating into the shadows. They were injured, exhausted, but their eyes held a spark he could not ignore. They had survived, learned, and adapted, and he had changed too. Stronger, sharper, but heavier in ways he could not yet understand. He stood alone in the ruins, chest heaving, eyes scanning the horizon. The city was quiet again, but the silence was different this time. It felt alive, tense, as if the ruins themselves remembered the battle. He had survived, but he knew. This was only the beginning. Something had awakened inside him during the fight. A dangerous, powerful instinct that would not fade. The humans had forced it out, and now he carried it like a shadow, moving with him, shaping him. The city slept under the dark sky, but he did not. He knew the humans would return, smarter, stronger, and more prepared. And when they did, he would not be the same either. The battle had ended, but the war, the real war, was only beginning. And he was ready. The ruins were quiet again, but he did not feel calm. The battle had ended, but its echoes lingered. His body ached, but it was more than physical pain. Something inside him had shifted, changed in ways he could not fully understand. He stood atop a broken tower, looking down at the streets below. The humans had retreated, yet their presence felt heavier than ever. They were clever, relentless, and fearless. And in the fight he had felt it, an energy awakening deep inside him, a force that had always been there but had never stirred so strongly. He flexed his hands, watching them carefully. Every movement felt sharper, faster, stronger. His senses were heightened. He could hear the faintest footsteps, see the tiniest flicker of movement in the shadows. But with this new power came a strange burden, a weight that pressed on his mind as well as his body. He remembered the humans' eyes during the battle, the mixture of fear, respect, and determination. They had survived, learned, and adapted, and he had changed too, not just physically but mentally. Something deep inside him had awakened, something that would shape every choice he made from now on. A strange feeling crawled through him, a mix of excitement and unease. The transformation was not just about strength, it was about awareness, understanding, and something darker, something dangerous. He could feel it pulsing, moving through his veins, sharpening his thoughts, his instincts, his reactions. He moved through the ruins cautiously, testing his new abilities. He leapt across broken streets with ease, dodged debris that fell from unstable buildings, and sensed every hidden corner where danger might lurk. Everything was sharper, faster, more intense. But the change came with a cost. The calm he had once felt, the certainty he had carried, was gone. The humans were out there, somewhere, waiting. He could feel them, sensing their presence even without seeing them, and now he realized that he was not the same as he had been when the first fight began. That battle had awakened something inside him, and he could not go back. He was evolving, growing stronger, but also carrying a darkness that was unfamiliar and heavy. He paused in the center of the ruins, looking at the stars above. They were pale and distant, but the night sky felt alive, as if it knew what had happened, as if it recognized the transformation. He had survived the fight, yes, but more than that, he had been changed by it, and with change came a choice. He could use this new power to dominate, to strike fear into the humans who had challenged him. Or he could control it, learn from it, and prepare for the next battle with patience and cunning. He clenched his fists, feeling the pulse of energy inside him. The humans had forced this transformation, awakened a force he had never known, and now it was his to control or to let control him. The night was still, but the city was far from peaceful. Somewhere in the darkness, the humans watched and waited, and he knew deep down that the next encounter would be the true test, not just of strength, but of what he had become. He turned, moving silently through the ruins, aware of every sound, every shadow, every whisper of wind. The transformation was complete, but it was only the beginning. He was no longer just what he had been. He was something more, something dangerous, something awakened by humans, and it would shape the battles yet to come. The city slept under the dark sky, but he did not. He had changed, and nothing would ever be the same again. The city lay in silence, bathed in the cold light of the rising sun. Smoke drifted from broken buildings, and the ruins seemed to hold their breath, waiting. He moved through the streets, every step careful, every sense alert. The humans were gone, for now, but he knew they were out there, watching, learning, preparing. He had changed, not just in strength, not just in skill, but in mind and spirit. The first fight, the battles, the awakening, they had all reshaped him. He was faster, stronger, sharper, and yet heavier. The weight of his transformation pressed on him, a constant reminder of what had happened, of what he had become. He paused atop a crumbled building, looking down at the city below. The humans had survived, adapted, and endured. They were clever, persistent, and fearless. And though he had defeated them, he understood now that victory was only temporary. They would return stronger, smarter, more dangerous, and he would have to be ready. A strange calm filled him, but it was not comfort, it was clarity. He could feel every heartbeat in the ruins, every whisper of wind, every shadow that moved. He had become something beyond what he had been, something shaped by the humans' determination and courage, and with that power came responsibility. He thought of the battles, the first encounter that had changed everything. That fight had awakened him, transformed him, forced him to confront not only the humans but himself. He had survived, but he was not the same. He was stronger, yes, but he carried something deeper now. A knowledge, an instinct, a shadow of what was to come. The wind swept through the ruins, and he felt it brush against his face like a warning. The humans were out there somewhere, and the world had changed. He could not go back to the way things were. There was no return, no undoing the transformation that had begun with a single fight. He moved silently through the streets, observing, listening, learning. The city was quiet, but it was alive with possibilities and threats alike. He knew the humans would challenge him again, and when they did, he would be ready, not just as he had been before, but as something new, something dangerous, something awakened. He stopped, looking at his hands, feeling the pulse of energy that had grown within him. The humans had started it, but he would control it. He would shape it, harness it, and use it to face whatever came next. The battles had ended, but the war, the real war, was only beginning, and he would not be the same when it came. He was changed, transformed, awakened by the humans' courage and persistence. He was no longer merely a survivor or a fighter. He was something more. Something that carried the weight of his battles, the lessons of his encounters, and the power of his transformation. The city stretched endlessly before him, silent yet full of life. He walked forward, aware of every shadow, every movement, every possibility. The humans were out there, and he would meet them again. But now he was ready, not just to fight, but to face the reality of what he had become. The ruins whispered around him. The wind carried the echoes of battles past, and the sun rose higher, casting light on a new world, a world where he had changed, where the humans had changed him, and where nothing would ever be the same again. The new reality had begun, and he was ready.